lot of people have a lot of theories about how he passed. Do you have any of your own?
I do not believe Eric, and I mean I loved Eric. I do not believe he was. I can't say what I really believe, other than because I don't want to be sued by anyone. But I do not believe he was well taken care of. You can read between the lines there. I do not believe he was well taken care of. And when I say that, I don't mean by Jerry Heller. Jerry loved Eric. He would have done anything for Eric, anything. So, in fact, I want to say this to all the idiots out there who think Jerry had anything to do with Eric's death. Jerry, out of everybody around Eric, you take all of us around Eric, Jerry Heller had more to lose than anybody if Eric died.
Yeah, that's what he told us, too.
Who had something to gain if Eric died?
Yeah.
But,
follow the money, so to speak.
So all I'm saying is it was not anything to do with Jerry.
Yeah, I don't believe that either. Jerry, and plus, like, Easy's kids, we had Edie on the show, and she said, she told us that Jerry was like a grandfather to her. Many people forgot about the kids, but Jerry seemed to be the guy that was still around for the kids. He was trying to make sure they got their money and stuff like that.
Like, I don't know, a lot of the younger people listening to this, they weren't around, but there's articles that were written about it in, like, The Hollywood Reporter and Daily Variety. If you can find those articles, go search them online. They're very interesting. But anyway, when Eric died, he didn't have a will, and there was concern on the part of the court about money being mishandled. Jerry, once Eric died, Jerry had no power to help run anything of Eric anymore, or take care of his affairs. So it wasn't in Jerry's hands anymore. But the court put the estate, which was, I know the label was worth $30 million on the day Eric died, which was a lot of money back in 1996, 95, 96 in there. Because they froze it up for like a year.
Didn't you have a lot of unreleased music too that went missing? Like someone told us that there was like a briefcase.
I actually had a lot of it because Eric gave it to me to listen to, and I just never mentioned it to anybody because it was just cassettes. It wasn't like DATs. It wasn't, it was, you know what I mean? It was cassette tapes. What am I going to do with cassette tapes? And I put them in a safety deposit box and didn't listen to them, didn't do anything. And I had a bunch of interviews I did with Eric for bios, for press releases and stuff. And I was so brokenhearted when Eric died. I just put everything in a safety deposit box at the bank. You know what I mean? And I just forgot about it. And then way later, I don't even know what year it was, maybe 2, 3, 4, I don't know how many years later it was, years after Eric's death. I didn't deal with his death very well. But anyway, way later, a cat by the name of Alan Gordon, who used to write for the Source magazine, which was a glossy magazine. He called me up and said, look, how would you like to write something about Eric? And I said, you're hitting some painful ground, because I couldn't deal with it yet. And then I said, look, I just happened to mention I was the last person to ever interview Eric when he was alive at my house. And he goes, you got the interview? And I go, yeah. He goes, where is it? And I go, I never typed it up. It's on a cassette, some cassettes at the bank in a safety deposit vault. And he goes, would you mind typing them up for the magazine? And that magazine was actually published by Larry Flint, you know, from Penthouse Magazine. And there was a movie made about Mr. Flint, you know. I forgot what it was called. Courtney Love was in it, and she played his wife. But I was hesitant to do it, and I said, look, I really don't want to go back down memory lane. I don't want to dredge all those emotions up. And he talked me into it. It was real hard on his part, but he talked me into it. And somewhere somebody copied my interview after it was in the magazine, and they put it online, so it's somewhere online. But that was the last interview with Eric that he ever did. But I don't think you're going to find anyone that knew Eric that didn't have good things to say about him. You know, he was a very loved person in this town.
Have you, Phyllis, since then, have you ever gone back and listened to any of those unreleased songs, or you still just
no? What the closest I came was, and I'm not going to name the person. Maybe you know, I think you probably know the person, but someone I was moving. This was maybe 3 years ago or something, and they were helping me move, and I came. And I was packing up my office, and I found the Ruthless tapes, the radio show, Ruthless radio show. And that was really sad. Eazy hosted a radio show in Los Angeles on an urban station out here. And it was a lot of fun. He was a funny guy. And I know it sounds weird I'm saying Eazy was a funny guy, but if you knew him, he was hilarious and a lot of fun. And the music was so dope. I had forgotten, you know, when I was listening to it, because this friend of mine who was helping me move, you know, he was one of these cats that wanted to know everything about Ruthless, you know. And he was like, oh, please play me these tapes, you know, because he was helping me pack this stuff up, and he saw the tapes. And he's like, please play these. And I'm like, okay. And then he talked me out of a copy of them. But it was just, that music was just, I had forgotten how good all that music was. It was just amazing. It was sad. It was bittersweet. But, yeah, Eazy was hosting this radio show, and then he became too sick to come in anymore to the station, so he couldn't do the show anymore. And then, you know, that was the end. But there were a lot of suspicious things. Well, I know there were a lot of suspicious things with Eric's death. And unfortunately, I don't think those things are ever going to be prosecutable.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people talk about it, and you think to yourself, you know, the kids need answers more than anybody. The kids need answers. You know, that I know the daughter is working on a documentary called The Ruthless
All of us
Scandal.
needed answers. All of us needed answers.
Oh, of course.
Because he was so beloved. How could this happen?
Yeah, how do you go from
and how could
not
he
having
be just
HIV to full-blown AIDS in 30 days and dead? You know, it just doesn't make sense.
See, I don't believe that, because no one else got it. No one else around him got it. How is that?
Yeah.
How is this miracle? How is this miracle that, you know what I mean? And he was pretty free with himself. So there were a lot of people that should have got. I can think of specific people that should have gotten it that never did. You know. You know. You know. You know, a lot of stuff was fishy. Let me ask you this, because you've interviewed everybody. What would you say the most predominant opinion is regarding his death?
Well, just like you said earlier, without getting sued, I'll quote the late great Jerry Heller. When we asked him, he said follow the money, and everybody that I've talked to, I've heard all the theories. I heard the acupuncture theory. I've heard the Suge Knight theory. I heard the Jerry theory, what we were talking about earlier, how we both said Jerry had nothing to do with it. There's another theory out there, too. I'm just going to say that. People aren't stupid. They can go look up and do the research for themselves, but something doesn't look right with that other theory. There's a lot of fishy circumstances, documents not signed.
Right.
It's kind of touchy. You know where I'm going.
Eric should have signed that just had an X on him. Yeah.
Yeah. The marriage certificate, that's one thing that can't come up, too. I remember we had Gary Ballin on the show, and he was talking about that. I think he said he saw the marriage certificate. It's a lot of fishy things going on. Another
if
guy,
you are a recording
killer.
artist, yeah. If you are a recording artist and you're listening to this show, get a will.
Yeah, get a will, and the recording artist, Roach Killer, said he was coming out of the house one day, or he was coming into the house, and Tamika was leaving the house, and it appeared that they were breaking up, and then he says, next thing you know, a few days later, or a few weeks later, however long it was, they were married.
Yeah.
And he was like, wait a second, I thought they were splitting up. What's going on here?